Morning, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got John Smybert. John, you're dialing in all the way from where? The other side of the world?
Way down under, Brisbane, Australia, Queensland,
Brisbane, Australia. And we're going to be talking about your new book.
Or the can I say it too?
Snap. But before we get into that, where can people get hold of you, John?
LinkedIn's the best. Anybody want to get a hold of me, just send me either an email or ask me to connect. Just make sure you send a message to say I was on Tim's show and I want to talk. I've got too many that have just, hey, I want to connect. But yeah, and love to connect with anybody that is interested in this subject we're going to talk about.
So congratulations. I mean, well done on getting the book published. I must admit, I was very honoured for you to ask me to. Was it the alpha or the beta version back in Christmas of 2020?
Well, I consider you a literary genius, and I really wanted your feedback before we went into the final publishing. So,
but it's. I mean, and the thing that I love about this, the thing about my business books is that they're about business. This is a novel. So
it's a novel about business, but it's a novel.
Yeah, it's a story. Yeah. So it's a story about with characters and good characters and bad characters, and you get sucked into the story, and that's the thing that makes you turn the pages, is because you actually, so what's going to happen to this character, that sort of thing. What motivated you to write the book anyway?
A few things, I guess. One is I personally learn a lot from reading stories and novels. Versus reading textbooks. I find textbooks hard work. I use them as reference books, but I very seldom read a textbook end to end, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot by doing that. And I love novels, so I read a lot. So I figured it was a better way of communicating the messages that I felt were important to for younger salespeople, but some older salespeople too that need a refreshing. The world's changed a lot, so we wanted to get some of the new messages across in the book. And so a novel, so it's easy to read. It's actually very good at communicating the essence of the message we're trying to get across. That's if you write a good one. And I've got to say, we started 6 years ago.
Wow.
And I started with Wayne Maloney, co-writing, and we had a number of false starts. And so we really learned that we couldn't write a novel. We weren't novelists. We tried to get a couple of what do they call them, ghost writers in to help us, and that didn't work out either. And then one of Wayne's friends sort of overnight read what we were trying to write. This is rubbish. This is rubbish. I'd write it like this, and he gave us the first 4 chapters of the book. Wayne and I looked at it and said, wow, this is what we're trying to do. Yeah. So we invited Jeff Cludo to come in and
because you've got there's three.
That's the three of us. It's co-written by the three of us, and Jeff made our vision come alive. It was just wonderful. But he took us right back to the beginning. And you mentioned characters. We spent I can't remember how much, 2 or 3 months, just trying to get every character documented so they became real. Well, this is just defining characters, not the story. And then we spent a whole lot of time on the synopsis of the story, chapter by chapter. What were we going to try and get across? And of course, Jeff was saying, when you finish that last word on every chapter, it's got to be absolutely compelling to go to the first word of the next chapter. And so a lot of work now trying to do that and also convey the right way to sell as the heroine's going through. And there's stories about a lady selling cybersecurity solutions to the financial industry or to a large bank. And so conveying the sales side of it really took a lot of effort in the three of us to get the story as a page-turning story and get the message coming over. And I think we've done it, and it's not because of me. Certainly, my novelist skills are very poor. But I've just been reading some reviews on Amazon, and some are amazing, particularly around the characters. I love the characters. I fell in love with them, and I think
I thought the characters were fantastic, and I'm pleased that you said that you invested the time, because the way that I've got a mate who's written a trilogy of novels. He's never had them published, but he does it at the weekend when he needs to get out of the way, he spent an awful lot of time on the characters, because the characters and understanding the characters is so important.
They've got to be so believable. They've got to be people you either love or hate. And we've got some characters in there that you hate as well as characters.
And that's important.
Absolutely important. People have to play off each other during the book, and the storyline itself has to have that cut and thrust. And it's and for me, it's been a really exciting and a learning process. But the thing that I'm so excited about is feedback we're getting means that we really have achieved our objective.
I think it's I read an awful lot of books, especially sales books, and this really stands out because of the fact that it's a novel, and the fact that you've spent the time in the preparation. And there's certain people, the characters, you go, you don't like them. The other thing that I really like about it is the diversity. And it was part of the feedback that I gave to you was the fact that you've got it's not men, it's not full of men. It reflects society, and you have a great set of diversity within the character as well. So it's not all white, male, middle class, privileged men. I mean, the main character, if you could call it the main character, is a female, and is a salesperson starting out, which I just loved.
In fact, you'd probably say the two main characters are females, and they play off each other. They're quite divergent sort of characters, and one's straight up and down, and that's Sue the heroine. The other one really is the and they play off really nicely. But you've got the sales manager, you've got the VP in Singapore, and those sort of things, and you get the lovely mixture of the different characters, and I can see that you spent time working on that. But it's really interesting, isn't it? Three old men come up with writing a book, making out the heroine as a young female. That's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. And the other thing is the fact that one of the things that you I'm trying to find one. One of the things that you actually so for people out there, the story takes you through a sale. So there's even though there's a storyline and a novel, but it takes you through a sale, and all the way through the sale and through the book there is these QR codes where there's actually backup of material that support the sales process. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
No, that's exactly what we've done. And a big debate we had is, do we put that content in the book, or do we put it somewhere else? And I've got some great feedback just in the last couple of days that it was great to put it somewhere else, because it doesn't interrupt the flow of the book if you want to read the novel end to end.
Yes.
And yet at every 6 chapters or so through the book, there's a QR code or a link that you can just go to, and you go off, and the book a website then explains what the heroine's doing and why she's doing it the way from a sales point of view. And now you'll learn a lot of that just reading the book. But if you want to go into more depth and learn a lot more, it's all on the website. And there's a whole lot of tools. The heroine's using tools all the way through it. And there's various tools she's applied, whether it's people mapping type tools. And we've got archetype models for how do you assess the people you're selling to and so on. This is a story about selling to a large organization. And we've got somewhere like, I can't remember exactly how many, but 8 to 12 characters in our customer environment that we're selling to or selling with or collaborating with, and so a big part of this book is how do you sell to an organization where you've got multiple decision makers, and how do you determine who you've got to rely on and who you've got to help to get a decision made in an organization. So the book goes into that a lot, and there's a lot of tools that support that, all sitting on the website.
And it's a classic sale, business to business enterprise sale, where you've got highs and you've got lows, and you get lows and you go, how am I going to figure this one out? And you actually use techniques to get where you want to go. But you're quite right. And there's a whole bunch of characters within the organization, because you'll never sell to one person. It's a multi-layer. There are different levels within the organization, and how do you use people to get to people? And plus, there's the selling internally in the organization as well that you're working in, because that's quite often the sometimes can be the hardest part.
Oh, and the politics in your customer is just one issue. The politics in your own organization, doesn't matter where I've worked, the politics have always been something you have to work with. And if you don't work with it, it'll work against you. So there's a lot of that in the own book. In the book about our own organization, or the organization that Sue the heroine is part of, and we just had to make that real. And we do have really good sales managers in it, and we have terrible sales managers, and that's the
and that's life.
And it's really interesting. The sales manager that's not so good, so many people said, I've worked for that guy. And they've read the book. I've worked for that guy. I know that character. So I think we made it pretty real. The other thing we did, a big decision we had to make is, what is the selling organization going to be selling? What are their products? And what sort of organization are going to sell to? Now, we happen to choose cybersecurity. It's a fairly topical environment. And a bank that they're selling to. But we wanted to make the book universal in B2B. And I noticed in the back we've said, this is how to sell to big business. Well, it's how to sell to any business, whether there's 2 or 3 decision makers or 15 decision makers in the organization. But the important thing I want to do is we put a lot of time to try and make sure the type of product we're selling and the type of organization we're selling it to, or a heroine we're selling to, could be adapted in the way people read it to understand in their environment. And I got a really bit of pleasing feedback just this week that somebody in the capital equipment, earth moving environment had read the book and said, I loved it, and I could relate to everything, even though I know nothing about cybersecurity, nothing about banks. I understood the sales side of it, and it really was very, very valuable for me. So I think we might have hit that one as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've worked in most vertical markets apart from financial services, but we most of us understand how a bank works because we have to deal with them on monthly basis or something. But certainly, I felt with the book that you didn't need to know about things technically. You just need to know that you had a technical sale. In business to business, we're selling things which are normally quite complex that we have to explain, and certainly that came over to me.
Yeah, fascinating. I just love doing the whole thing, and I'm really pleased with feedback like yours and others that's coming back that I think we've achieved it. You mentioned the book follows the sales process effectively, which it is. There's a process or a whole framework to selling that I term advance. So it follows the steps of advance, which is engage, discover, value, authenticate, negotiate, commit, and enact. So the book follows that. But that said, nearly 2/3 of the book are purely on one of those, which is the discovery side of it.
Yes.
And that was absolutely, deliberate, and it's where most of the selling activity takes place, and where most of the time and effort and everything goes into a sale. And if it's not, that's when sales stall. So we wanted to really demonstrate the importance of discovery, the importance of no discussion right through discovery about our own product or our own company. It's all about the customer. So Sue was just up to her arms in discussions with the bank and trying to keep the doors open and all that sort of stuff, doing a detailed and in-depth discovery, and then taking the bank through a bit of a thinking journey to a new way of thinking, because cybersecurity is what she was selling, but it turned out that something else really drove the sale. And if she hadn't done a really good discovery, that wouldn't have been something that she picked up on and wouldn't have won the business.
Yeah, I think
typical.
Yeah, it was. And what I liked was the fact that there was an existing supplier already in place, which is so common nowadays in IT. That, you know, that whether it's a legacy system or what, but you know, businesses have a situation as, you know, there's a system. If it ain't broke, why fix it? And you know, we had people that supported the existing system, like you get in sales today. And so, how do we get those people on side? And all of the things that you would expect to happen within a sale to actually. But you're right. You know, the discovery was so important because she had to find out certain things. I'm not going to spoil it for people, but the discovery was so critical.
And how do we help the customer buy rather than how do we sell a product?
Yes.
And yeah, we put a lot of effort in making sure we could help people understand that and the importance of that and how to go about it. So there's a lot in the book about how Sue asks questions and so on, and it's just hidden in the story. But it's you'll learn. Everybody will learn a lot from that.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's a you know, I'm a great believer. I'm a great believer that, you know, there's always something you can learn, and I think it's a great book for people new in sales. You know, to give an understanding rather than sitting and reading a textbook about it. It's up to date because a lot of sales books I read could have been written 10, 15 years ago, because they're so out of date in terms of the way that we go about selling today. But it's also a useful, you know, I've been in sales for 25 years, but it's one of those things where you go, yeah, I need to, you know, that's a good reminder and stuff. Of course, because it's all embedded in a novel. For me, it was a page turner. I mean, you know, I sat down and I think I read it in 2 days. I was like, you know, it's like, because you kind of want to see, you know, you want to see that the people get on, and you know, then you hit a low part in the sale, and you want to. So.
Yep, and Jeff Clulow is just absolutely responsible for achieving that. He's a brilliant writer. His background is he's got a business background in the advertising industry, originally a copywriter and so on. So he understands business, but he didn't understand B2B sales.
Right.
And then he, in his semi-retirement or whatever he calls it, has become a novelist. And he's investing all his time into writing great short stories and so on. So having all that knowledge and skills around novelists with a bit of background in business, and then bringing our skills around B2B sales and how to sell effectively in this modern world, and how to help customers make decisions, it just came together. It was wonderful. But without Jeff, Wayne and I don't think would ever have achieved it.
And I think it's great to have co-authors, because I think they bring a lot in terms of, you know, it's quite often, you know, the books that I've written, they never would have been as good as they are if it had been just me. It's always the co-authors that you go, I never thought about that, and that's some of the great things that they bring.
Also a lot of debates.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
we between the three of us, we really tore each other's ideas apart and put them back together, and because we had a great novel we had to write, and we had to get the sales methodology story over, and it was and we all had different opinions on how that's done. So it was a good collaborative exercise.
So obvious question: where can people actually buy the book? Amazon, I'm guessing.
Any whatever bookstore that you normally get your books from, any retailer. I think most of the sales are happening via Amazon. We were delighted because for the first week or so, we ended up with the Amazon bestseller in the US and Australia, which was wonderful. I don't think we hit it in the UK and your part of the world, but I guess most of our promotion tended to be the USA and Australia. So Amazon.
And it's available on Kindle.
There's three versions. There's the print version, paperback, the one you're holding.
Yeah.
There's a Kindle version, and there's a audio book which you can get on Audible by Amazon or any other place.
And is that you reading it?
It's really interesting. I wanted Jeff to read it because I like Jeff's voice, but Jeff didn't feel he wanted to. So we ended up hiring a professional reader. So an Australian. So the book is based in Australia, and the characters, there's a mixture of characters between Australian, Singaporean, Indian, South Africans, and so on. So we decided we'd get a good reader that's an Australian to bring the Australian accents into it a little bit. But I don't think he's got a strong accent. So yeah, from my point of view, I really can't judge that, but you'll be able to do that. But I think he reads it very well. Good, deep, resonant voice. So yeah, about eight or 9 hours of reading.
Wow.
It's not a small book. It's a good novel. So you pick it up and read it. I think there's about 360 pages or thereabouts. So but it's a lot of fun. I'll guarantee it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really made up for you the fact that, because I know it's taken a long time for you to get it out, but you can tell that you've put the effort. The discovery. It's all in the discovery, isn't it? You put the time and effort into the preparation, and as I said, the characters and that are just beautiful.
A lot of research. We researched till the cows come home, and then planned till the cows come home. So it's as I said, it's 6 years, over 6 years. August 6 years ago, that Wayne and I started writing this, or started preparing to write it. We didn't intend it to take 6 years, but and if I had known back then that it was going to take 6 years, I probably wouldn't have done it. But now we've produced it, I've got no regrets whatsoever.
John, it's a great piece, and
Thank you, Tim.
Books are just fantastic business cards. I mean, the best business cards that you can have. There's nothing like walking into a meeting and putting your book down and go, there's my book. So the thing is that this is your second one, because then you can walk in and go, that's my first book.
You're suggesting we need a sequel to?
I think you need a sequel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody else was saying to me the other day, well, that's a great book on sales. Now do sales management. So
yeah,
where did Sue go after this, and what happens with the manager out of Singapore? And
there's actually very few books on sales management. Very few.
Novels particularly.
Yeah, well, I'm not even aware that there's probably even a novel on it. I mean, I can only think of probably 2 books on sales leadership.
If I said to Wayne and Jeff, let's write a sequel, a novel about sales management, I think I'd have to.
I'd leave it
coming my way.
John, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about your book.
My absolute pleasure.
Where can people find you? LinkedIn is probably the best place, I guess.
Find me on LinkedIn. Find the book on Amazon or whatever book retailer you go to. The Wentworth Prospect, and that's what it is. Wentworth is the name of a bank. It's a sales prospect for Sue's company, and you'll love it. What I really am very keen to get is when people read it. Love to get feedback. Love to have a chat. Send me a note. Tell me what you think. And not everybody's going to love it. I know that. So tell me what you got out of it. Tell me how we could have improved it. We may put new editions out of the same book. So looking to improve it all the time. So, but The other thing we do, and I've got make no apologies for this, is that when people do click on the QR code, they must register on the website.
Okay.
And that's important because we want the website to be a great companion for the readers, and we don't want everybody in the world to access it. So you need to register and then sign in whenever you access it.
Right.
And we will stay in touch with you via that channel as well. So, but yes, please communicate with us. We're really looking for your feedback, and we're looking to collaborate wherever you want to.
Okay. John, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about it. It's a really exciting time for you. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Tim.